So today we got a question from a brand new fresh white belt who is borderline obsessed with jiu-jitsu already, and they're also running into a bunch of injuries. So check it out. Lewis says that he has been training for a little bit, and he has a really active life already. He lifts weights, he does yoga, he runs multiple times a week. He goes on hikes multiple times a week. He's doing all this active stuff. And somewhere along the way, he managed to squeeze in about 3 more days of jiu-jitsu in there doing activity. And he says that what's happened now is he's been training for a little bit, loves it, but he's like starting to strain muscles and get injuries just doing little stuff. He'll be drilling at jiu-jitsu and all of a sudden he'll pull a muscle in his arm, or he'll go for a warm-up deadlift at the gym and he'll pull it back with really light weight. And so he's not used to this. And so his question to me is, now that I've started jiu-jitsu, should I cut back on the strength training, or is there a particular program that you follow that complements jiu-jitsu? Or, again, if I just have any advice for him, what that looks like. So, Lewis, thank you for the question, brother. And to be honest with you, it's pretty clear you're just doing too much. So for any of you guys that watch my videos and you get annoyed sometimes that I go on long tangents and talk because your attention span has been destroyed by smartphones, there's your short answer. Now for Lewis, we're going to go a little bit deeper because I want to help the guy out. So check it out, Lewis. When you're getting into something new, my recommendation would be to allow some imbalance to happen for a period of time. So here's what I mean by that. Like when I get into anything new, whether it be physical with my body or something with work or my life, just in general, I will allow myself to sort of imbalance in that direction. I know that a lot of times people they fantasize about this perfect harmonious balance, but nothing really great happens with just perfect harmonious balance. Typically, there's going to be an imbalance. So a great example, when I first started doing these YouTube videos back, 5-6 years ago, whatever it was at this point, when I first started doing this, I was incredibly inefficient with every step of the way, with making the video, filming the video, my ability to speak in front of the camera, the editing process afterwards. I don't edit it anymore, but I used to. All this stuff took forever. I would get home and I would be, pecking away on the computer till 11 o'clock at night. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning. I'd be back to work on it. And it was really imbalanced for a period of time. It got in the way of my training, my lifting, everything. But over time, I got better at it. And then I came back to balance. And then I would find something else to get into. When I lift weights, I have a coach that writes up a program for me. And so my coach writes up my program and it periodically changes. And whenever that program changes, I will give myself about 1 to 2 weeks to allow myself to adapt to the new program, to essentially imbalance myself towards that thing. I'll dial back on my jiu-jitsu training for a bit, allow myself to sort of get comfortable with the exercises, and I go back to training like normal in jiu-jitsu. And even with jiu-jitsu competitions, when I start training for a jiu-jitsu competition, I sort of dial back on the lifting and everything else that I'm doing, and I push myself more into the training and rolling and everything else and really focusing on that, and I allow myself to imbalance. And then periodically between these periods of imbalancing, I will be balanced. I'll be doing everything kind of nice and neat, and then I'll typically just bounce off and go back and forth. And so that's what I would sort of advise you to do. Right now, you are trying to do everything, bro. You're lifting weights, you're doing yoga, even your ideas on resting, right? Resting, your sauna sitting. Sauna is still, taxing on the body. It's definitely good for recovery, but it can still take a toll on the body. And so what I would advise you to do is, one, dial back on the strength training a little bit, for sure. Again, regardless of the program, it might be a good period to just dial back a little bit, dial back on the yoga, and allow yourself to become imbalanced to jiu-jitsu for a little bit. One, to get this initial obsession out of the way so it becomes normal. There's initially, just like a relationship with anything else, a lot of times in the beginning, it's brand new, it's fresh, and it's exciting. That'll settle down eventually. And then you can kind of go back to everything else, right? Also, with jiu-jitsu being so new to you, bro, you're probably using muscles you didn't know existed in ways you've never understood that you could use them. Like when I first came back to jiu-jitsu after the lockdown quarantine stuff last year, I was only off the mat for about a month and a half. Mind you, I've been training since I was a kid. I get back on the mat and I felt like I was, the first day after the rolls, I felt like I got hit by a train. I was like, oh my God, my body's so sore. So again, you're going through that right now. Your body's getting used up, doing all these isometric holds where you're squeezing stuff. Again, a lot of different muscle groups being used, and it takes a toll on your body. And so if it's already tore up for the week from doing a ton of lifting, running, hiking, yoga, jiu-jitsu is going to be just a little bit too much for you right now, especially with how tough jiu-jitsu is on the body. So my recommendation to you, Lewis, imbalance towards jiu-jitsu for a little bit, allow yourself to really focus on jiu-jitsu, dial back on everything else physical, and maybe, just maybe, give yourself a day or two of full rest. That means like no hardcore activity. Maybe go for a walk or something, maybe do a sauna sit, but otherwise no other physical activity. Allow your body to fully rest and sleep in a little bit or whatever. Really let yourself rest and see what that does for you. See if that helps you. So that is my answer to you, Lewis. Hopefully that helps you with your start and training, brother, and good luck to you. And I'll talk to you guys next time.